Hi team, another quick update, and we're going to do a little Vespers time together, maybe a little encouragement. Just a couple things on the email. One, you'll see the resource on there that's called Why We Do Sermon-Based Life Groups. And that's kind of just a little bit of a vision statement that says, hey, this is why we do what we're doing. So let's make sure those are the outcomes that we are shooting for as we are doing these groups and sort of trying to overlap the Sunday morning experience with sort of the lab experience midweek in our life groups. And so take a look at that. Another resource on there is what's coming up this next Wednesday, which I know is one of those kind of layers we're putting in with regards to ministry. And I feel the tension because some of us have midweek life groups. We're just getting going. We've got our Wednesdays, we've got our Thursdays. Maybe we even have some new people in there, and so it creates a should we go on Wednesday to the men's connection with our men and maybe split up our group or just keep doing our group. And I'll just sort of trust you with what you think would be best for your group. I would encourage you if you're sort of like 50-50 to do what you can to split up your group, to send your men to the men's connection. This weekend we have a guest speaker. His name's Chris Simning. He'll be doing both services. On Sunday, he's a phenomenal communicator with this amazing story of how God has used him and through some incredible and ongoing hardships to grow his faith. And I think it'll be an encouragement and challenge to all of us in loving well. And then he'll also be speaking on Monday night to our youth, and then on Wednesday night to our men, and really challenging us as men out of his own life story with relationship with his father. So I think it'll be a valuable time, great time, men. If you have some guys that don't normally come to church or aren't tied into a life group, to reach out to them, bring them Wednesday night, 7:00 at Promised Land, and I think it'll be a fantastic time together. This week's life group questions are a little bit different, and so spend some time with them, getting familiar. I trust that you can sort out how to best use those. But when Steve and I were talking about it, looking at the focus for the week and what Chris has been asked to do, we sort of landed on this idea of let's sort of reset with regards to the one another kind of commands or instructions of the New Testament, and with regards to ultimately, what does it look like to love each other the way God in Christ has loved us? And so what you'll see on there, especially with the biblical kind of look-in section, is just a whole list. And I've categorized those for you because I think it's a little bit easier. But figure out how as a group you can spend some time with those, and I think they'll be a great encouragement to you. I might also make a warning to you as I started this process even earlier this week, and thinking about what does it look like to have the kind of relationships that ultimately that Jesus came here to restore with these one another's. It has been a challenging week. There have been a couple of times where I've been faced with disapproval, maybe a need to seek forgiveness because of my own choices. But some times where I felt, I've got to lean in on some of this truth, because the honesty within me is that I don't really feel like one anothering someone else. And to our language, we're going to use one anothering one another. And so it was great to sort of have those scrolling around in my head and going, you know what, I've been called to more. I've been saved for more. And so what does it look like to treat people ultimately the way that God in Christ has treated me? And so I hope those will be an encouragement to you. But again, it's a little bit different because we don't know exactly what Chris is going to say. We never quite know exactly what Steve's going to say. But usually he writes those questions based on where he's going. And so if the two don't match up perfectly this week, that's why. But we're doing our best shot to help resource you guys as groups. One of my favorite tools and sort of pointers to my role as a pastor and then ultimately just a child of God has been this little book. And I was required to buy it in college, and so, or in seminary actually, so I bought a used one. And it's a little devotional guide with a sort of a yearly rhythm to it and a daily rhythm as well. And even on the front, since I bought it used, you can see there's some writing in there. And I remember receiving this probably from Amazon prior to needing it for whatever class I was taking. And here are the words that were written some 30 years ago, actually, in the front of this book. And it says that this volume is second only to the Bible in my esteem. And then Dan Griffin, whoever he is, signed his name on the front page. And I would echo those sentiments, as the words and the collection of writings have been highly encouraging and challenging to me as well. And I want to pass those along. There's a whole section here. What does it look like to be a pastor, to care for people that God has put under and around us? And that's certainly true of you as a leader. When I think about the layers that God has gifted us with here at Sierra Bible as a part of this church, you play an extremely important one as a life group leader in caring for those folks that for whatever reason are showing up in your home, showing up in your space, and allowing your leadership to shepherd them, to coach them, to encourage them. And so here's a little bit of encouragement for you, I hope, with regards to that role. And this is a little, it's a little section that was pulled from a guy by the name of Charles Edward Jefferson, long time ago. He says this: when Jesus handed over to Simon Peter the charge of the Christian church, he was careful to use the possessive pronoun my. Feed my lambs, tend my sheep, feed my sheep. It is the mightiest pronoun in the New Testament for the saving of the minister from lordliness. Simon, son of Jonas, feed my lambs. They are not yours, they are mine. But I wish you to look after them for a little while. I do not give them to you, they belong to me. Mine they always shall remain, but I ask you to tend them for a season for me. Feed my sheep. They are not yours. Not one of them shall ever pass from my possession. But I am going away for a few days, and I leave them with you. Guard them, feed them, guide them. Be good to them for my sake. Follow me. Remember my gentleness, my watchfulness, my considerateness, my patience, my compassion, my readiness to help, my swiftness to heal, my gladness to sacrifice. Be the kind of shepherd to my lambs and my sheep that I have been to you. Follow me. Well, that's a little encouragement, I hope. It was to me, and sort of resetting what it is I do as a pastor, also as just a friend and a leader of my own life group, that I would walk with that perspective and respond in a way that looks a little bit like following the Good Shepherd as he shepherded my own life. So I hope that's an encouragement to you as you walk this out. If you have some questions with regards to how things work in the life group questions, or anything really, feel free to shoot me an email. But again, thanks for all that you're doing in walking alongside so many in our church and caring for them.